Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me today. We're about to delve into a conversation that feels more urgent and relevant than ever before, a topic truly shaping the destiny of the United States and its profound impact on the global stage. It's a discussion that resonates deeply, touching upon the fabric of our daily lives, from the major headlines that dominate our news cycles to the fundamental shifts we observe in our natural environment. We're exploring nothing less than America's entry into a brand new era, an epoch defined by a triumvirate of incredibly intricate and interconnected challenges: the evolving landscape of national security, the undeniable and accelerating reality of climate change, and the enduring, yet increasingly tested principles of freedom that underpin American society. This isn't merely a political discourse for academics or policymakers. It is a lived experience for millions, a palpable shift in the foundational assumptions we once held about stability and progress. You can feel it in the shifting currents of public debate, witness it in the severity of natural events, and perceive it in the ongoing discussions about individual rights and collective responsibilities. The old maps, it seems, are no longer sufficient to navigate the complex terrain ahead. We are witnessing a profound redefinition of what it means to be a global power, a thriving democracy, and a responsible steward of our planet. The United States, a nation historically defined by its resilience and adaptability, now stands at a critical juncture, confronted by a confluence of forces that demand innovative thinking, strategic foresight, and a renewed commitment to its core values. What does this new era truly mean for the average American? How will these monumental shifts reshape our communities, our economy, and our place in the world? These are not hypothetical questions, but immediate inquiries demanding our careful attention and objective analysis. Our goal today is to dive deep into these pivotal issues, dissecting their political dimensions with a focus on objectivity, factual accuracy, and a balanced perspective. We aim to understand not just what these challenges are, but how they interact, creating a complex web of cause and effect that impacts everything from foreign policy to local infrastructure. It's about looking beyond the surface-level debates and grasping the deeper currents that are truly shaping America's path forward. The interconnectedness of these challenges is perhaps their most defining characteristic. For too long, we might have viewed security, climate, and freedom as separate policy silos, each managed by its own set of experts and institutions. However, the reality of the 21st century has powerfully demonstrated that such a compartmentalized approach is no longer viable. Consider for a moment how national security, once primarily defined by military might and geopolitical rivalries, now extends its reach into the digital realm with cyber warfare and election interference. These threats directly undermine the integrity of our democratic processes, eroding trust in the very institutions that uphold our freedoms. At the same time, the impacts of climate change, like resource scarcity, mass migration, and extreme weather events, can destabilize entire regions, creating new security vacuums and exacerbating existing conflicts. When populations are displaced by drought or rising sea levels, it's not just an environmental crisis. It becomes a humanitarian emergency with profound security implications, both domestically and internationally. These interconnected pressures test the limits of governance and can place immense strain on a society's commitment to fundamental rights, especially in times of perceived crisis. Conversely, climate change itself, once seen as an environmental concern for scientists and activists, has unmistakably transformed into a core political, economic, and even national security challenge for the United States. The devastating wildfires in California, the increasingly ferocious hurricanes battering coastal states, and the persistent droughts plaguing the western regions are no longer distant threats. They are present realities affecting millions of lives, destroying infrastructure, and costing billions of dollars. The political debates surrounding climate action highlight deep societal divisions, impacting everything from energy policy to job creation. The transition to a green economy, while offering immense opportunities for innovation and new jobs, also presents significant challenges for traditional industries and communities dependent on fossil fuels. This transition must be managed carefully to ensure it aligns with economic stability and social equity, crucial elements for maintaining societal cohesion and individual freedoms.
And then there's freedom, the very cornerstone of the American experiment.
In this new era, the principles of individual liberty and civil rights are facing unprecedented stress. Political polarization has reached alarming levels, fueling intense debates over issues like voting rights, freedom of speech, and the appropriate role of government in an increasingly complex society. The proliferation of misinformation and disinformation online threatens to erode trust in democratic institutions and the political process itself, making informed public discourse incredibly difficult. Simultaneously, powerful movements for civil rights and social justice continue to press for the rectification of long-standing inequalities, demanding that the promise of freedom and equality be extended to all citizens, regardless of their background. Safeguarding these individual freedoms, ensuring justice for everyone, and strengthening the foundations of democracy are central tasks that require open dialogue, unwavering respect for constitutional principles, and a collective commitment to a fair and inclusive society. The ability of a free and informed populace to engage with and respond to threats like cyber interference or climate change is directly tied to the health of its democratic institutions and the protection of its civil liberties. These three pillars, security, climate change, and freedom, are not merely separate chapters in a policy textbook. They are interwoven threads in the tapestry of America's future, each influencing and shaping the others in profound ways. How the United States chooses to navigate these intricate challenges will not only define its own destiny, but will also have far-reaching implications for the global order. We are at a moment that demands not just effective leadership, but also remarkable adaptability, an unwavering commitment to core democratic values, and a collective understanding of the gravity of these intertwined issues. This is a pivotal juncture where strategic choices, public engagement, and a shared vision for the future will determine America's standing and resilience in the 21st century. So, as we move forward, let's keep this interconnectedness in mind. We will delve into each of these areas, exploring the current landscape, the political dynamics at play, and the potential paths forward. Understanding these complex relationships is the first step toward building a more secure, sustainable, and free future for all Americans. Stay with us as we unpack these critical themes one by one. Understanding these complex relationships is the first step toward building a more secure, sustainable, and free future for all Americans. Stay with us as we unpack these critical themes one by one. So let's dive right into the first pillar of this new era, national security. For decades, U.S. national security often evoked conventional warfare, military might, and geopolitical chess matches. While these remain vital, the threat landscape has fundamentally shifted. We're no longer just facing nation-state armies. We're confronting diffuse, often invisible, and incredibly complex challenges that blur traditional lines. Consider cyber warfare. This isn't merely hackers stealing data. It's sophisticated state-sponsored actors probing critical national infrastructure, potentially disrupting everything from power grids to financial systems and public utilities. The digital battlefield constantly evolves, demanding new forms of defense, advanced intelligence, and innovative deterrence strategies often outpacing existing frameworks. Election interference, another insidious threat, aims to undermine our democratic process, sowing widespread distrust, division, and eroding faith in institutional legitimacy. These aren't kinetic attacks, but their long-term impact on national stability, public confidence, and political system integrity can be as profound as traditional military threats. Beyond these asymmetric, non-traditional threats, the United States also navigates re-intensified geopolitical competition. Strategic rivals like China and Russia actively assert influence, challenging long-standing international norms and seeking to reshape the global order against American interests. The Indo-Pacific region, in particular, has emerged as a crucial theater for this competition, encompassing critical global trade routes, burgeoning technological hubs, and significant military buildups. From ongoing trade disputes and aggressive territorial claims in the South China Sea to the intense global race for technological supremacy in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced manufacturing, the stakes couldn't be higher. Beijing's rapid economic and military expansion, coupled with Moscow's assertive foreign policy and persistent efforts to destabilize Western democracies, demands that Washington re-evaluate its existing alliances, like NATO and its Asian partnerships, and urgently update its defense strategies. This isn't just about maintaining military advantage, it's about fostering regional stability, deterring aggression, and robustly protecting U.S. economic interests, democratic values, and freedom of navigation in a rapidly changing world. The question isn't just how strong is our military, but how smart, agile, and adaptable are our alliances, capabilities, and strategic posture in the face of these multifaceted challenges. And then there's the crucial dimension of domestic security. It's no longer solely about protecting borders from external threats. It's about confronting deeply entrenched societal issues within our nation that adversaries can exploit or that lead to internal instability. Gun violence, a persistent and tragic epidemic, plagues communities, sparking emotionally charged debates about individual Second Amendment rights versus the urgent need for public safety and effective regulations. Domestic terrorism, fueled by extremist ideologies, from white supremacism to anti-government militias, poses a significant and growing threat to internal stability, social cohesion, and the rule of law, aiming to sow fear and undermine democratic processes. Perhaps most fundamentally, the profound political and societal polarization we're witnessing creates deep fissures and vulnerabilities foreign adversaries are eager to exploit, weakening collective resilience, eroding trust in government, and undermining our shared national purpose. The U.S. government faces the immense and delicate task of balancing global military superiority and investing in cutting-edge defense technologies, all while addressing these pressing non-traditional and complex domestic threats. This intricate balancing act is further complicated by persistent budget pressures, the immense cost of maintaining a global military presence, and public weariness after decades of interventions abroad. How do you effectively maintain a robust global presence, rebuild critical infrastructure, invest in next-generation cyber defenses, and heal internal divisions, without stretching resources too thin, sparking backlash, or losing crucial public support? It's an extraordinarily complex puzzle, highlighting the intricate and interconnected web of challenges defining this new security landscape, from the digital realm to our own neighborhoods. But national security, as critical and expansive as it is, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's inextricably linked to our second major theme, climate change. For a long time, climate change was often framed as a distant environmental concern, a future scientific projection, or a problem for other countries. That narrative has decisively shifted. Today, it stands as a core political, economic, and even national security challenge confronting the United States, manifesting its impacts here and now, directly affecting Americans' lives, property, and livelihoods in tangible and destructive ways. Just look at the historical wildfires increasingly ravaging California and the Pacific Northwest, transforming vast landscapes, forcing mass evacuations, displacing communities, and costing billions year after year. Consider the increasingly powerful and frequent hurricanes and tropical storms devastating coastal areas from the Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic seaboard, leaving trails of destruction that take years to recover, fundamentally altering coastlines and communities. Or the prolonged and severe droughts in the American West, stressing vital water supplies for agriculture and urban centers, threatening food security, impacting hydropower, and exacerbating wildfire risks, creating long-term economic and social instability. These are not isolated incidents. They are tangible, costly, and often heartbreaking manifestations of a rapidly changing climate. The human toll, massive economic disruption, and severe strain on our national infrastructure are undeniable. This isn't a problem we can defer. It's an immediate crisis demanding urgent, sustained, and strategic action, reshaping everything from agricultural practices and insurance markets to urban planning and military readiness, as the Pentagon recognizes climate change as a threat multiplier. While the U.S. has rejoined the Paris Agreement and set ambitious emissions reduction goals, the actual path forward is far from smooth. Climate policies continue to face deep political divisions between parties and across regions. What one state or faction sees as an urgent imperative for survival and economic opportunity, another might view as an economic burden, a threat to energy independence, or an infringement on individual freedoms and state sovereignty, leading to legislative stalemates. The transition to renewable energy and a greener economy, while promising for sustainability and job creation, is not merely an environmental issue. It's a profound economic transformation that raises critical questions about equitable job creation, ensuring new green jobs can indeed replace those lost in traditional fossil fuel industries and support affected communities, ensuring energy independence and grid security, and maintaining global economic competitiveness in rapidly emerging clean technology markets. How do we build a resilient, reliable, and equitable renewable energy infrastructure at scale? How do we innovate to stay ahead in the global race for clean technologies, which are becoming critical components of national power? The government must skillfully balance the immediate interests of traditional industries, vital to regional economies, and the urgent imperative to act decisively on climate. This demands not only robust domestic policy solutions, but also extensive international cooperation. No single nation, however powerful, can solve global climate change alone, making multilateral agreements, technological sharing, and collective action absolutely essential for meaningful progress. The decisions made today on climate will reverberate for generations, defining our environment, economy, global leadership, and ultimately, our legacy. Indeed, no single nation, however powerful, can solve global climate change alone, making multilateral agreements, technological sharing, and collective action absolutely essential for meaningful progress. The decisions made today on climate will reverberate for generations, defining our environment, economy, global leadership, and ultimately, our legacy. This isn't just about environmental policy, it's about geopolitics, economic competitiveness, and the very foundation of global stability. The United States, with its historical emissions and immense innovative capacity, carries a significant responsibility and unique opportunity to lead. Re-engaging with global climate efforts, like the Paris Agreement, was a critical first step, but sustained, ambitious action is now paramount. The challenge lies in translating ambitious targets into tangible, equitable actions both domestically and on the international stage. Domestically, the transition to a green economy requires massive investment in renewable energy infrastructure, electric vehicle charging networks, and advanced battery storage. Legislation such as the Inflation Reduction Act, while a landmark effort, also highlights the ongoing political tightrope walk, balancing incentives for clean energy with the realities of traditional industries and regional economic disparities. This transition isn't merely about regulations. It's about fundamentally restructuring energy systems, manufacturing, and even agricultural practices. It means empowering new industries, creating millions of green jobs, and ensuring that communities reliant on fossil fuels are not left behind but are instead equipped for the next economic era. The equitable distribution of the benefits and burdens of this transition is crucial for maintaining public support and preventing further societal division. Internationally, American leadership means not just setting an example, but actively fostering collaborative solutions. This includes climate diplomacy, pushing for stronger commitments from major emitters, and assisting developing nations in their own transitions and adaptation efforts. Climate change disproportionately impacts the most vulnerable countries, creating potential for humanitarian crises, mass migration, and resource conflicts that can destabilize entire regions. Therefore, climate action becomes an integral part of national security and foreign policy. Sharing American technological advancements in carbon capture, hydrogen energy, and sustainable agriculture can accelerate global decarbonization. Moreover, the U.S. must help build resilient supply chains for critical minerals and technologies essential for the green transition, reducing reliance on potentially hostile actors. The competition with countries like China, for instance, isn't just about military might or economic dominance. It's also about who leads the clean energy revolution, who sets the standards, and who shapes the future global energy landscape. American innovation and investment in these areas are not just about environmental protection. They are about securing long-term economic prosperity and strategic advantage. Yet, as we grapple with these monumental, largely external challenges of security and climate change, America also faces a profound internal reckoning, particularly concerning the very foundations of its democratic identity and the freedoms it champions. This brings us to the third critical pillar of America's new era, the enduring yet increasingly complex struggle to uphold and redefine freedom. The concept of freedom lies at the heart of the American experiment, enshrined in its founding documents and etched into its national identity. From freedom of speech and religion to the right to assemble and vote, these liberties have historically served as both an aspiration and a source of strength. However, in this new era, these fundamental freedoms are being tested and reinterpreted in unprecedented ways, both by internal forces and the pressures of a rapidly changing world. The political polarization that has intensified across the nation has transformed what were once civil debates into deeply entrenched ideological battles, threatening the spirit of compromise and mutual respect essential for a functioning democracy. This division is evident in nearly every aspect of American life, from policy decisions in Washington to conversations around kitchen tables. One of the most immediate and pressing challenges to freedom revolves around the integrity of the democratic process itself, specifically voting rights. Debates over voter access, registration, and ballot security have become highly contentious, with different factions arguing for different interpretations of what constitutes fair and free elections. Legislation aimed at either expanding or restricting voting opportunities often faces fierce opposition, reflecting deep distrust and partisan divides. Ensuring that every eligible citizen has the unimpeded right to cast their vote, and that those votes are counted accurately and fairly, is not merely a procedural matter. It is the bedrock of self-governance and the most fundamental expression of freedom in a democracy. When faith in the electoral system erodes, the entire democratic structure becomes vulnerable to cynicism and potential instability. Furthermore, The digital age has introduced complex new dimensions to freedom of speech and expression. While the Internet and social media platforms offer unprecedented avenues for communication and information sharing, they have also become fertile ground for the rapid dissemination of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. This proliferation of false narratives actively undermines informed public discourse, making it increasingly difficult for citizens to distinguish fact from fiction and to make reasoned decisions about their leaders and policies. The debate about who regulates online content, government, tech companies, or individuals, and where the line between protected speech and harmful content should be drawn, is one of the most significant philosophical and legal challenges of our time. Balancing the protection of individual expression with the need to safeguard public trust and prevent the erosion of democratic norms requires thoughtful, nuanced approaches that respect constitutional principles while adapting to technological realities. It's a delicate balance that impacts everything from political campaigns to public health initiatives. The struggle for social justice and civil rights continues to be a defining feature of the American landscape, demanding a deeper examination of what freedom truly means for all citizens, regardless of their background. Movements addressing racial inequality, gender identity, LGBTQ+ rights, and reproductive freedoms have consistently pushed the nation to confront historical injustices and ongoing systemic inequities. These movements highlight that true freedom is not merely the absence of government interference, but also the presence of equal opportunity, protection under the law, and dignity for every individual. They challenge the nation to live up to its ideals, ensuring that the promises of liberty and justice are extended to all. The ongoing debates surrounding these issues often expose deep-seated disagreements about values, history, and the role of government in shaping a just society. Addressing these grievances requires open dialogue, empathy, and a sustained commitment to legal and social reforms that foster a more inclusive and equitable future. It's about ensuring that the American dream, and the freedoms it promises, are genuinely accessible to everyone, not just a privileged few. This internal examination of rights and responsibilities is as vital to America's future as any geopolitical strategy or climate policy, because a nation divided against itself cannot stand strong on the global stage.